So, Lynette, I do believe that oftentimes we use the word trailblazer or leader or one of the first too frequently in today's society, but you truly are in very many ways a trailblazer. And that's not something that I would just use to exaggerate. I've often been interested when I do meet people such as yourself about the genesis, your origin story. You grew up in Kansas. Tell me a little bit about how you grew up and your lifestyle, your family dynamic.
Well, I come from a two-parent home. I have a brother and sister, older than I am. Donna is the oldest. My brother Daryl is next. And then it's myself and my younger sister Bonnie. Daryl and I, you might say, are
Uh-huh.
closest in age. So we played together. And with him being the oldest, he created the games that we played. So it was always sports, of course. And that's how I found my way to
I love that.
basketball.
So, because you played all of his games, it ended up helping you in a better way. When did you know, as playing basketball with your brother, that you were nice? Like, I'm nice with this. When did you know that?
I didn't know for a long time. I say basketball, but the games that he invented, as children, we didn't have a Nerf ball or anything like that, but he would roll his socks together and we would shoot behind the bedroom door. The closet was adjacent, so we had two baskets. He created all of the names of the players, which ironically I later met in life. And I guess our parents just kind of figured out what we were doing, and then later they bought us a hoop and a basketball and kicked us out the house and let us play in the
How important
backyard.
was it for your parents to recognize whatever you thought was a game as something to occupy your time, which ultimately changed your lifestyle?
I think it's pretty amazing when I think back, especially for my mom. She bought us a little game, basketball games in a box. We pull the lever and shoot the ping pong ball. But she enjoyed sports. We lived pretty close to Wichita State University growing up, and she would listen to the basketball games. And I was too young to really understand it, but she would listen with my brother, and they would get so excited. So I think just hearing that and again, creating those
Mhm.
games that we played, those were all seeds to later flourish into something that, has been so
It's so
amazing in my
amazing
life.
how you now can look back, and people don't have a lot of people don't have this experience, but you can look back at different things that actually are different moments or incidents or happenstances, if you will, that really created you. So it wasn't so much of a happenstance or a coinky dink, right? It feels destined. So you go on to really love this game. When did this game of basketball become something that you knew you had to have in your life?
Um, well, let me go back a little bit further. We played the softball. We later went to the backyard, which really wasn't that much fun for me because I didn't have the skills
Okay.
to play the game. The goal drew all my brother's friends, not my friends, his friends. So that left me being the only girl, and they really didn't want me out there. And he would say, "Mother, make her go in the house. We don't want to play." But I would stay around. I'd get kicked off, and I'd watch. But I figured out their little system. If you could make a free throw, then you were a part of the team. And so when they would leave the ball and go away, then I would practice and hope for the day that someone didn't show up. They had an odd number on the team when they would invite me, to come out and play. That was a
Yeah.
good day for me.
Wow.
Um, but that's pretty cool. But when I was 5, there was a plane crash
Oh.
on my block. It was a KC-135 jet fueler that came out of McConnell Air Force Base. Something went very wrong on the takeoff, and when that plane came over, it landed right in our neighborhood, probably about 4 houses. From where the plane hit, I was about 4 or 5 houses down. Um, what happened, our houses were brick on our side of the street. On the opposite side, the houses were made of wood, so that fuel just took those
Hmm.
houses out. We were able to rebuild and come back. But the folks across the street, there are a lot of lives lost, probably one of the biggest catastrophes in Wichita,
Mm.
Kansas ever. Um, but instead of rebuilding, the city came in and made a park in that area. And in other areas that were blighted in the Northeast area, which was, quote unquote, um, where, the African Americans
Yeah.
lived. And they put out a basketball court, they put out a playground. And that's the point that I became very
Uh,
serious about playing the game, because I could go every day after school and just,
oh, that's
have a
great.
great
That's
time.
really great. So what, yeah, and while you say probably one of the ugliest tragedies the city has ever seen, they were able to replace it with something that restored, right? It was a little bit of restoration, it seems like, for a lot of people.
Something
Yeah.
beautiful remains. And to this day, when I go back and I hear the laughter of the kids, the bouncing of the balls, the squeaking of the shoes on the court, I think about how it got there, and it just
Mhm.
really
I
warms
love
my
that.
heart.
I love that. So then that's when you knew you loved the game? When you would go there to play?
Yes. But there
Mhm.
was nowhere to play because they didn't have girls basketball in
Mhm.
junior high school. So it wasn't until I got to high school that I had a chance to learn organized basketball. Prior to that, I was just playground, trying to get
Yeah.
in where I could fit in, and uh,
I hear you
just
say
loving the
that, it breaks
game.
my heart, right? Because they're obviously the generation we know now will never know that. And when I hear people say that, I think about dreams that were robbed from so many women. I think about opportunities that were taken from us. From since the beginning of time, but just is even to this day, but just in that simple place, something where you find joy, but you absolutely are not allowed to do it. And it remained that way so late in life. When you got to high school and you played ball, what was it like? Was he coach like, oh, you
Yeah.
tall? This is it. We're gonna make you a star. Like they do that too. You tall, we're gonna make you a star. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I didn't realize it was a big deal. I
Hmm.
enjoyed playing on the playground. I enjoyed playing at the recreation center because every weekend we could go to a tournament. I love trophies. Okay, so
Yeah.
I wanted to get a trophy. Well, at the high school they didn't get a trophy. You just had games.
Yeah.
I didn't
Not.
understand that concept. But my good friend heard it over the intercom that they were
Yeah.
going to have tryouts. And so between classes she said, we got to go down, we got to try out. I'm like, nah, not really. But anyway, by the end of the day she had talked me into going down. And the rest is history. I saw all the girls that came down and wanted to play, and I was very excited because I never saw any girls play basketball. I was the only one ever out there on the court. So to see others that wanted to play the game as I did, it was very
So
exciting for
you
me.
you play the game as they did. You wanted your hardware. You didn't understand why you wasn't getting that in high school. Where my damn hardware at? 'Cause where it be? Give it to me now. I get it. Give me my I need to show you. Just hold it up. Like, see. So I respect that because I
Yeah.
am of that same thought but process. But then you go to college. What was that experience like for you?
Yes. Well, my friends, my guy friends in high school, they were being recruited all over the nation. Schools like North Carolina, Maryland at the time, Texas, big schools. But for me, not so much. I would get letters that came to the school. I would go by the guidance counselor, and they would always hand me a letter. Someone had written me a letter wanting me to think about going to their college or university. I didn't understand it. No one really talked to me about it. And then finally, one day I asked my guidance counselor, what does all this mean? Going to school, getting a scholarship. And he sat down and he talked to me and explained that, this is a great opportunity. I could have a chance to go and have my college paid for. My mom and dad wouldn't have that expense. All I had to do was buckle down, hit the books, and do what I wanted to do, and that was play basketball. I wasn't confident at all with that because no one in my family had ever gone to school,
Wow.
didn't know what it meant, didn't know how it was going to translate later in life.
Hmm.
But I trusted. And I just went on. I continued to play. It was just talk around me that was just really going over my head. But I just followed through. We had a very successful, or I had a very successful high school career. So of course, by the time I became a senior, I was offered a scholarship. I ended up going to play for a coach by the name of Marion Washington, who is a Hall of Fame coach at the
Hmm.
University of Kansas. Um, and I would do it again 1,000 times. One of the greatest coaches in the game. She was an African American. I used to read about her in the paper. But the things I read was like, well, I'll tell you this one story. She had fired someone. She was athletic director and basketball coach, and she had fired someone. And I had never seen, a Black person in a leadership role, not only as athletic director, but as
Hmm.
basketball coach. And so it was a lot of negative press that came out. And I thought, wow, this is somebody special over here. And so later, when I met her, she had been a part of a U.S. national team, which I didn't know you could travel all over the world. So, of course, she
Yeah.
became my role model, and I wanted to do those things and to be at the University of Kansas, a great institution. I said I want to play for her. Because she's tough.
Yeah.
She held her guns.
Yeah.
She took a lot of flack for her decisions that she made, but she stood the test of time. And I just have so much respect for the way she fought before I got there. But for us athletes, I was the first athlete that at the University of Kansas that
Yeah.
received a scholarship. But she fought to build that program. And by the time it was done, everybody had scholarships. But she gave 31 years of her life at that university, which few people know. She's a
Yes.
hidden figure, in
Yes.
my opinion. But I have so much respect for her. If it was not for her, I would never have. I don't believe has gone as far as I have because I learned to fight. I learned to fight the right way. I learned to take a
Yeah.
stand for things that are right and just watch the whole process because it is a long process when you stand for
Yeah.
something that is right. And, you go against the popular thought of the hour.
It
Yeah, it
takes
takes a
a
lot of
lot of
courage.
courage to say that you are going to be you unapologetically, right? You even doubt yourself while in the process of doing that.
Absolutely.
So you see all the things that she's able to accomplish, and no matter how or cliche the saying is, you have to see it to believe it, and now you believe it. Do you think that um as you played, right, there were a lot of firsts for you, but before we get there, you played for the Olympic team, did you not? In 1984,
Yes.
I believe?
1980,
Uh-huh.
1980, and also in
What was that
1984.
experience like? Because you go to college, you see your peers making money, 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 money. And by peers, I mean your male cohorts. So, like the dudes is they leave it and they sign in deals and they live in the life and not as much as so now, but for them, seemingly they had a place to go. So when you graduated, you had to go overseas, right? And then you
Yes.
came here to play the Olympics. Was that process? It's all you knew, but was there any um, ill will towards that process when you saw what was happening for the men?
Um, Not really. I think, it was the way it was. So,
Hmm.
what are you going to do about it? I wanted to
Hmm.
continue to play. So I knew that I was going to focus on my education. I knew I could get that. And that was going to be very valuable comfortable for me down the road. Um, I knew there was not going to be an NBA. There was a pro league, I think, when I was a junior at the University of Kansas. But by the time I graduated,
Mm-hmm.
the league had folded. So it was no more professional
Mm-hmm.
league in the United States with the WBL. So my only option, which came late, I didn't even know you could do this, but was to go overseas. And I played for a team there. So I packed my bags. I went to Europe. I played in Italy. Probably one of the toughest times in my life, but the greatest at the same time, because that's when you really break the umbilical cord. I mean, you are away from home with a rotary phone,
Yeah.
no cell
Yeah.
phones,
Yes.
like
Yes.
no
You're
movies,
just like,
no
is
streaming.
this my life? Yeah, I get it. Don Staley said the same thing to me.
Yeah,
She was like, I
yeah.
was miserable. She said, whatever little money I had, I was calling back home. Yeah. She said, I get it. I get
Oh yeah,
it.
yeah. And it
Yeah,
was
exactly. Your
expensive
whole
too.
paycheck
It was
is a
expensive.
5-minute
Everything
call.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, your whole paycheck's a 5-minute call. You're like, okay, so gotta go. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to stay there. I wanted to come home, but I'm
Amen.
not a quitter. And once I got through it, it was the best thing that ever happened, because then I was able to go. It was just that pressing and getting through. And once I got through, sky's the
Sky,
limit.
that's
Sky
good.
was
That's
the
right.
limit.
That's the right attitude to have. Do you now looking back on that time, and you can speak to so many differences of what it is versus what it was, but you still hold so many firsts. And I haven't even touched y'all. Like she's a businesswoman. She could save you some money. She is like, not, that's just, this basketball thing was just something you loved. You went on ahead and did it even on another level in the world of finance, which is amazing in itself.
Yeah.
How did you decide? Because you've been able to live in both worlds. First of all, how did you decide finances where you wanted to live? Were you always someone who said, I want to be in investments? I want to do.
Okay, so you have to understand, basketball is the most exciting thing to me
Okay,
in my life.
I
I
see it. I
love
see it.
playing
Yeah, I see
basketball.
it.
Okay. So now it goes away. What is going to excite me the way this game does?
Oh,
Money.
okay. It excites me too.
Let's make some money.
Yeah,
Let's have
yeah,
some
yeah.
fun. Yeah, I wanted to make money. I mean, what else was there? I've traveled
I
all
love
over
it.
the world. I did what I wanted to do, but what can I do next? I love helping people,
I
don't get
love
me
money.
wrong, but
Mhm.
I was young, I wanted to make some money. I wanted to buy some things.
So you then, where did you, I have a resume of places, but I'd rather you tell me. I don't know if I'm accurate. So then when you were done with basketball and whatever, that you took it as far as you could go, because there was no WNBA at the time. And then you decided to turn to finance because we was going to make some money. What was your approach to that? That seems so intimidating, especially not just, because it's an intimidating, numbers are hard, especially women. We always have this thing where we're like, I don't want to deal with that. I know I do at a lot of times. So what made you say, this is where I want to live?
Well, for somebody who says, nah, I think that if you looked at
Yeah.
it, you would love it. It's just it's a strange thing. It's exposure, really. But in the sport, I learned
Yeah.
that I could do anything. That's what the coach always told me. Hey, you can play that position. You can play that position.
Oh,
You can do this. I went to college. How did I do that? I wasn't encouraged. I figured it
I
out
see.
along the way. And once I started winning on some levels that I didn't know that I could, especially being a student athlete, which is tough. Um, I was on my way. So um, I was playing in Japan. I had left Europe and now I'm in Japan. But I played for a company called Daiwa Securities, which is a brokerage firm. My friends played for the Bank of Tokyo, so they worked for the Bank of Tokyo, and they played basketball. Well, I wanted to work for my company, but I couldn't understand the Nikkei exchange. So I thought, okay, no problem. When I go home, I'm going to start looking at the Dow Jones and I'm going to figure this out. Well, I have not a lot of money, but it's not really a lot of money. At that time, it was time and money. So you put your money up early,
Mm-hmm.
it'll grow for you. And I knew that. And so when I got back, um, I I came back and worked a job as an athletic director, but I met a lady who was on Wall Street. She came to a golf tournament that we had. And, we're usually in the position, or I've seen it this way, where, you're asking for a check. You're on the receiving end. But here comes this sister in there, and she's got this big check in her hand, the big cardboard, and she's donating to our program. She had a program called From Wall
Mm-hmm.
Street to Your Street. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be her. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be the one receiving it. I want to be
Uh-huh.
the one giving it away. So I went and started to have a conversation with her. Um, we kind of hit it off, and she started telling me about the business. And she said, "You know what? You would be
Mm-hmm.
great for this business." I'm like, "Really?" I said, "You don't know what I've been thinking." Just prior to that, I had put my little money with my little stockbroker. I called my broker, and I was trying to figure out if I could retire. Didn't have near enough money. Embarrassed to say so. But what I what I learned was, if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get
Correct.
the answers.
In life.
And so I didn't feel like she was answering the questions that I wanted. So I kind of got mad and went and bought all these books you know, um, from the bookstore, trying to learn about Wall Street
Mm-hmm.
and investing because I wanted to be able to help somebody and answer the questions that weren't answered for me. And that's how I got into it. And when I met, her name is Pat Winans, who had came to our golf tournament and gave us that check. I talked to her and she saw my passion. She said, "You know what? If you're interested in being, learning more, here's my card. You call me Monday." And, I was excited the whole weekend, but I called her. She told me that there was a place around the corner that I could go and get some books, take a class, get my Series 7's license, and she would teach me the rest. And she was from New York. I'm in Kansas City. But there was a guy that came on every lunch hour that, talked about investing. I made an appointment with him. I went to his office. I said, "Look, I got this book. I've got to learn it. Can you help me?" And he just broke it down for me. Just here, you study this week, this next week, and follow through. I've given you the map. You don't deviate,
I
you will
love it.
pass.
Oh, I
And that's what
love it.
happened.
I love it. I love it.
And then, so I passed my test, and I wanted to go to Texas because I was intimidated
Okay.
by New York. And Miss Winans, she was expanding to Texas, but she said, "Hey, Lynette, you know what? If you're gonna learn this stuff, you got to come to New York. You may as well get in the mix." And I went to New York, uh, a city that I feared, a city
Yeah.
that I came to love. It wasn't that big
Yeah.
monster once I got used
Yeah.
to not
Yeah.
speaking to
I'm talking to
people.
you. You're
I'm
fine.
from Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but it was great. It was when the market was at its all-time high, 95. I mean, I saw things. I experienced the best of the best. And, it's been a great
You
experience.
deserve
What can
all
I
of that.
say?
Now, do you still practice? Do you still work in finance? You give off advice, or are you fully retired?
No, I'm not fully retired, but I do watch the market. I am invested in the market. I I reserve
Okay.
against giving advice. Unless you really
Mhm.
know me
Don't
and
be mad at
trust
me if
me,
you lose your little money. Yeah, I
and I
get it.
can do a
Yeah, and
tip.
don't be mad at me if you lose
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
little
But
change. You gotta have
you
guts
gotta
because
have
this. Yeah,
guts.
no,
You gotta
it's
step up.
scare money don't make
Uh,
money. This is a business for folks who are ready to do it. You scare money don't make money.
I've not
It's
heard that one,
true.
but that's great.
It don't
Scared
make
money
you
don't
no
make
money, so you
money.
gotta go out there and be like, I believe, I trust me, I overstand.
That's right, but you can do it
Yeah.
systematically, and and just do it over time. And I tell you, it'll come back and
So
help you
let's
one
talk
day.
about, and I'm making our right turn back to basketball, folks, because I love the sports. At 38, at 38 years old, which I think is young, 38 years young, you decided to join the WNBA, and that was
Mhm.
because that was the opportunity given to you, as it was for so many of the greats who never had the opportunity to play in the level right out of college. You guys had to go overseas. So they're forming the WNBA. And
Right.
who I want to know how the call came. Was it, hey, I hear this is happening? Or was someone like, hey, Lynette, look, we need you. We're about to do it. We're doing it for real.
No, I heard about it, and you have to understand, growing up, you always wish that you had a professional league
Sure.
like the guys. The times we're overseas, we're lonely, we're sitting talking. Why can't we be
Correct.
doing this at home? You know? And then finally it opens up. Well, it's at the end of my career, but that's okay. I decided, okay, if I
Yeah.
can get in shape, if I can get in shape, I'm going to at
Yeah.
least try it for a year. And I was able to just work hard enough. I mean, I did everything you could do. I did boxing, I did running, I did swimming. I mean, I did so many things to try to get my body back in shape so that I could go up and down the floor the way you have to in a professional league. But somehow God gave me the grace to
Yay.
do it. And I was part of that inaugural season. Played great, didn't get an injury. Played for 2 years and was able to
And
walk
more
away from the
importantly,
game.
you had a dream realized. You were able to take part
Yes,
in something that was denied for so long for so many of these great.
yes,
I mean, like I don't think people understand. Like now, you can go to school and say, "I want to be a doctor. I want to be a politician. I want to be a practitioner in whatever field. I want to create my own." But you can, no one's saying no to you. The opportunities are endless, and you were told no. You and so many other greats were told no, and we, as
yeah,
fans of the sport and people of the sport, were denied the opportunity to watch you do what you do best. And for me, you being able to have that 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, like that's a beautiful thing. That's a
yes,
beautiful
yes.
thing.
Yeah, the beautiful thing is that for me, it was never there. But once I got to that point, a door would open.
Right.
So I just had to continue to do what I did, just train, be disciplined, and keep the faith. And when I get to that junction,
Amen.
the
I'm
door
all
would
about
open.
doors open.
And that is the most amazing thing that has happened in the whole, so,
You're like, I
I
was
trust God.
prepared. I was prepared. Like, cause
Yes,
preparation meets
yes,
opportunity, and this is what you're gonna do. You're like, gotta get ready. I'm gonna get ready. You already have the skill set to get ready. Okay, I got a box. I got to do all the thing. You better
yeah.
than me though, cause I'm lazy. But I will say, I meant
No, I don't
physically.
believe
No,
that. I don't
I
believe
hustle,
that.
but physically, I'm like, do we have to run? Are we running? My chest is burning. I can't. It's the heart situation.
That's
Yeah,
when you
you
know
are
it's
working
working. That's
hard.
when you know it's working.
Um, uh, then
Yeah.
the very first, right? Here we go with our first because we love it. The very first woman to be a part of the Globetrotters. I need to that experience being the first. It's sometimes I'm not using the right word. Sometimes it's overrated in terms of the glory that you think that comes with it because it's really difficult to be the first because of things that happen that the ordinary pedestrian person watching on from the outside doesn't understand. All we can see is the first. We're doing
Right.
this with the Harlem Globetrotters. That's amazing. It's a big deal. Can you walk me through that? Because I want to make sure I understand the particulars of being the first.
Yes. First of all, however the coordinates line up, however God does things. I had a cousin who played with the Harlem Globetrotters for over 24 years. His name is Hubert Geese Osby. He was a showman, one of the greatest trotters to ever be a
Yeah.
trotter, if you will. If you Google him, you will see. But he would come to our family picnics, and as children, he'd do his ball handling for us, and we were amazed. I was amazed at the wizardry, the way he could spin the ball and do all these tricks. It was just, I just loved it. And I found myself in the spare time when I wasn't shooting the basketball on the court, I would try to do the ball handling tricks,
Mhm.
the wizardry that I saw him do. I would try to imitate it. And so I said to myself one day that even when I stop playing basketball and no one else knows that I can play, I will be able to pick up the basketball and still be able to do the wizardry and show you some glimpses
Right.
of the past. And so I
Mm-hmm.
always worked on that. If I saw someone do something that I thought was fancy and I liked, I would go to them and ask them to teach me. And
Mm-hmm.
they did. So over time, I had strung together a nice little routine with the ball, and I practiced it every day. Got very good at it. Um, it was my dream to play for the Harlem Globetrotters. As a player, you always pretend to be somebody or to be a part of a team. And my team was the Globetrotters
Yeah.
because of my cousin. And so that's why my style went that way. And so this dream, this was when I was, what, six,
Mm-hmm.
7 years old. I held this dream until I was
Mm-hmm.
26 and it
Mm-hmm.
came to fruition. But when I was in college, I told my college coach of this dream. She helped me write a letter to the Globetrotters. I really thought it was going to go to the front
Yeah.
office
Yeah.
and they would understand. But I realized when I became a Globetrotter that there's a bag of mail like Santa Claus
Everyone wants to
that's
see
going
her.
every
Yeah.
different direction. No one
Uh-huh.
ever got the letter, but it felt good
Right.
writing
Right.
it, So uh, at some point after the Olympics in 1984, which was in Los
Mm-hmm.
Angeles, California, the Globetrotters were in the
Mm-hmm.
stands. And as they're known for innovators, they were looking for somebody to help revive them
Mm-hmm.
because they had kind of,
Mm-hmm.
gone down a little bit. And so they had that great idea. Hey, we're going to have a female. They came to the games. They saw that we could play, and they wanted to make it happen. I didn't know this at that time. A month later, we've got the gold medal. I'm home resting, and who gives me a call on the phone? It's my cousin, Geese Osby. So he's calling me to congratulate me about the gold medal. Well, this is the first time that I can ask him, hey, what do you think about a female being on the team? This is something I dreamed about all my life. But he didn't answer me the way I thought he would. I thought he was going to say, oh, yeah, you know what? That's a great idea. Let me go to management. Maybe we can work
Mm-hmm.
something out for you. It didn't go like that. His response to me was, Lynette, I don't know if my teammates would
Mm.
go for that. I don't know what it would be like for a woman to be on the road. I mean,
Here's
he didn't mean
telling the
any
truth.
harm, but he
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
me to yeah, and so I remember hanging up the phone a little
Mm-hmm.
downhearted because I had believed this dream. I had spoken this dream. I told everybody from
It's my
who
dream.
would listen to me that this
Mm-hmm.
was going to happen. So I'm really beginning to feel like maybe they thought I was,
Yeah.
kind of crazy
Yeah.
because I loved it too much, and I maybe should step off the train. But I wouldn't do it. It was so much a part of my spirit. I had read something just recent from that time that I spoke with him that if ever you pray, you say exactly what you want. Don't beat around the bush. Pray retail versus
Yeah.
wholesale. That's how it read. So that meant to me,
Mm-hmm.
say what you want in your prayer. So I went to bed that night and I prayed. I said, Lord, I want to play for the Harlem Globetrotters. I said, no one knows what I'm thinking. You could either take this out of my heart and I can go on and by anyone's standards, I have enough. I got a college degree. I got a gold medal. I've been overseas. I've traveled around the world. I've got all these things, but it's something in my heart that I
Yeah.
want to continue to play.
Yeah.
Can you make
Yeah.
it
Thank you,
happen
Father.
for me? And yeah, so that's how I left it. Uh, he didn't answer me. He didn't call me back the next day. But what did happen, I could
Yeah.
not stop training. And so I continued to train. It was about 6 weeks. I go down to the basketball office. I'm just dragging. I'm training. I just go in the office. I pick up the paper. It was the
Uh-huh.
USA Today. At the top of the paper, it said that the Globetrotters were going to go co-ed for the 85,
Mm.
86 season. My vision blurred.
Mm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
what? This is it. Oh my God, he
Mhm.
heard me. It was like my prayer was answered. It didn't say I
Mhm.
was going to make the team, but he heard my prayer, which meant to me, if this is not it, I do
Amen.
have something for you.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
heard you.
Mhm.
I heard you. And so After that, the Globetrotters had a tryout in Charlotte, North Carolina. 26 women were invited all over the United States. We then went to Burbank, California, had another tryout because they couldn't make a decision. At that time, we joined the Globetrotters. That's where we got acceptance, really, because they realized that, hey, women can play this game. The game has improved. And so they became open to the idea. And it was like, it was magic after that,
Mhm.
you know. So after a week of training, they lined us up like it was a pageant, and my name was called, and it's just a blessing, a
Yeah.
dream come true. Hey, I'm from Kansas. My mother's name
Oh,
is
oh,
Dorothy. She
okay.
has a dog named Toto. Followed the yellow brick
I
road
love it
all the way there.
all.
I'm a
I
dreamer.
love it all. We went to the aisles, we asked for what we wanted, and they gave it to us. Okay. So I
Yeah.
want to tell you, because we have all of this, and I'm looking at all my research. I think that if you're listening, there is so much um there's so much to talk about. I think I read this meme once that said you have several careers, you have several reincarnations of who you are. We've only touched on a few, but we haven't gotten into the coaching career aspect of it. And I don't want to go too deep, but I know that it says here in 1999 you returned to Kansas City and you were the assistant coach of the women's basketball team, and then you went on to coach on your own at the university. What you became? Oh, well, we already had the financial consultant, but you were at
At
Winthrop
Winthrop
Eagles
University.
women's basketball team. That was the one, and that was
Mhm.
in 2017. So you have had, and I don't even think we've gotten to what the finish line is, because the story is still being written. But you then have, and it's not unusual for people to go from playing ball and that level and being a coach, because you're one of the first. You know the fundamentals of it all, and you've seen it all. Um, what is the most rewarding thing for you about coaching?
To share the knowledge of the game, to lift players up, to help them with their confidence. There's so much you can learn in the game that you can take with you in life, but you got to learn teamwork. You can learn leadership skills. You learn discipline. You gain your confidence.
Hmm.
You get a voice. You learn to
Hmm.
fight. And then you learn to win, and then you learn to lose. What happens when we lose? Well, there's a system that you go through when you lose. You go back, you get the stats, you look at where your shortfalls were, you work on them, you study your opponent, you find ways to win. But it's a systemic way that you can do it so that, if life gives you a flat tire, you just don't freak out. Hey, you can relax. Hey, you figure out
Hmm.
what the problem
Hmm.
is. You can go back and stand up and dust yourself off and know you're coming back
I
again.
think people who are in organized sports, in high school level, collegiate level, um, you guys are obviously better leaders in a lot of ways. So it does make sense to me to see someone such as yourself coaching, because you do know how to lose. You talk about losing as a process, and you go back and figure out what went wrong so you can correct it. That is invaluable
Mhm.
in life, like in every aspect of life, right? Because we sometimes only I
Mhm.
won't even do that. I'm like, I'm pouting, I didn't win, and the jealousy sets in, and I'm mad, and I'm blaming everybody else, and I'm not looking how I could have immediately corrected the situation so I can win in the next time I'm in it. We got to learn that through a lot of
Yes.
falling down. Um, I wonder for you, when you think about, oh, it is such a but you're such a wealth of knowledge, by the way. But I wonder for you, what else is next, because you've been taught that everything is possible. So is there more for you? Are you enjoying where you are in life? Have you been able to be content? Because the lesson of contentment is so hard to understand, and more importantly to practice when you're very ambitious.
I am very ambitious. I like the fight. I like the challenge. Um, I want to go to battle every day. I want to read something. I want to learn something. I want to help someone. Um,
Hmm.
let's go. What are we
Hmm.
going to conquer today? And it just gives me life. I want to help people have that type of energy. I mean, especially the way the world is now, you never know what's going to go from one minute to the next, but you've got to be You got to have your routine down. You've got to be ready for the challenges that you face every day. You got to be focused. You have to be crystal clear about what you want to do, and you've got to be able to not let the little obstacles that's going to flare up get in your way. Just think of it as an obstacle course. Hey, we got to jump over this. We got to crawl under that. We got to bob and weave. But you just got to think win. You got to think victory. You got to think, I'm not going to let anything or anybody tell me what's impossible for me. You already did it to me. I don't want to hear it. I've overcome that. So you can't tell me now. So it's really getting out there, helping people. I have opportunity now to work with the Harlem Globetrotters to help the young ladies. There are more young ladies on the team now than ever before. There's 5. I want to see that number grow. If that number grows, that means that maybe one day there'll be a team.
Why not?
And yeah, and even for the male players, I mean, I've played with the guys. I've sat on the bus. We've had conversations. I know what it's like to be out on the road. Just conversations and people knowing where you are and understanding where you are and being and giving you little advice on how to make it easier for yourself. It's invaluable. That's what I want to give. That's what I want to share.
Lynette. And I think that you are the person to do that. Is there anything that you are working on? I think that I didn't get to see that in my research. Is there anything that you'd like to promote, tell everybody to pay attention to? Because I'll do that as well when I tell everyone, I wrap up about how great this podcast is and how amazing you are.
Okay. Yeah, I'm working on a lot of things. One being a special advisor, of course, to the Globetrotters.
Perfect.
But also, I am working with a company called IOwn.me. And what it is a sort of like LifeLock.
Okay.
You know how you can protect your physical identity with your credit cards, your social security cards. But this is digital identity.
Yeah.
IOwn.me. And it's a company that helps you protect your digital identity. And
how does that work? Like, does that mean someone
new,
can't change when you say digital identity? They can't take your social media handles. They can't.
Your data. Yes. Yeah. So, they may take, you may try to take your brand and market it somewhere else without your permission. And they're sort of like the police for that. And you'll be hearing about it in the future, but
of course you're ahead. Of course you are ahead.
I'm on the front end.
We're also late. You're like, I've been doing this. Thank you very much. I've been doing this. I know what I'm doing. I got it. Yes. All right, cool. I'm not jealous. Just make sure you let a sister know. I'll be there. Lynette Woodard, it has been, really, truly a pleasure and an honor. And I, like I said, that word is thrown around too much, but you are a true trailblazer. So thank you for just sharing whatever knowledge you have to give to the folks, because we appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. I have great respect for you. I follow you.
Thank you.
You're my hero. I like your stance.
Yeah, for everybody.
You're a fighter. Go ahead.